When developing a pre-assessment for a teaching unit, the pre-assessment must assess the key learning outcomes. Follow these steps when creating your pre-assessment. Firstly, decide on the key learning outcomes that you want to assess. Then, using the learning outcomes and content statements from the syllabus, decide on what the students are expected to understand, know, and be able to do. Choose a format for the task that will enable the students to demonstrate their current levels of mastery of what you're assessing. And lastly, develop criteria that you will use to evaluate students' readiness, that is, their current understanding, knowledge, and skills in relation to the learning outcomes. 2 sample planning templates and some primary and secondary samples of pre-assessments are provided in the resources within this module and may support you in developing effective pre-assessments. Having developed and administered your pre-assessment, the next question that arises is, how do I analyse the student responses to inform my planning? As pre-assessment's purpose is to inform teaching and learning, the analysis of student responses is an important part of the process of planning teaching and learning, as teachers need to determine each student's entry point in relation to the outcomes within a program. These questions and the implications attached to the answers they elicit may help to guide the analysis of the pre-assessment responses you receive. The first question is, which students have little to no understanding of learning outcomes? The implication for those that fall into this group is that they have gaps in their learning and need background learning to be ready for the unit. A second question, which students demonstrate some or partial understanding of learning outcomes? The implication for this group is that these students are developing their mastery of learning outcomes to a degree and are ready for the unit. They may need alternative applications and practice of understanding. The third question, which students demonstrate understanding of learning outcomes? The implication of this is that these students have a high degree of mastery and need alternative applications of understanding and challenging extension material. Teachers can develop a set of criteria by which to determine a student's current knowledge, skill, and understanding. These criteria can then be expanded to a rubric in order to determine student readiness for a topic. The question then arises, how do I know if I've created a good quality pre-assessment? As in all areas, it's good practice to reflect on and evaluate the quality and effectiveness of your pre-assessment. This can be done at 2 points, either directly after you've developed the assessment or after the students have completed it. So having developed and administered your pre-assessment and analysed the responses of students to identify learning needs, what next? Consideration as to what might be an appropriate response to the identified level of student need should be undertaken. This list of possible modifications to instruction and learning provided are some of the possibilities you might consider. You might differentiate the content, process, or product to match readiness, interests, and learning preferences. You may compact the curriculum for students who have demonstrated some mastery of core outcomes. You might develop extension learning for students who have demonstrated mastery of core outcomes based on the pre-assessment. You might provide students with choice in their learning activities, or vary the pace of learning so the gifted students can progress through the learning at their own pace. You may provide opportunities to apply learning in real-life, relevant situations, and provide constructive informational feedback throughout the learning process. You may choose to implement flexible groupings based on abilities, achievement, and/or interests, and enrich the curriculum with opportunities such as guest speakers or excursions. Finally, you may find it appropriate to provide mentorship opportunities to extend students if their need is evident. How to go about developing these modifications will be further explored throughout the coming modules. And a final thought as we close from Caroline Tomlinson, who stated very clearly that assessment is today's means of modifying tomorrow's instruction.